and welcome back to my doll collecting channel. Today I have a highly requested video, which is things I wish I had known before I started collecting dolls. So this video is basically going to be advice that I would give my younger self or my newer self. I don't think that makes a lot of sense, but essentially things that I wish I had known before I started collecting and kind of advice I would give to doll collectors. So a little bit of background about me. My name is Sophia and I've been a huge fan of dolls since I was a kid, probably since I was 2 years old. I really loved Barbie, and then when I was around 8 years old, a maplelea Girl catalog came in my mail and I got my first maplelea Girl, Taryn, and then 2 years later I got my first American Girl. And those are the two main brands that I collect. I also collect Rainbow High and Ever After High. As you can see, I have Ever After High there and Rainbow High behind me. So I do collect a different variety of doll brands, but my favorite is American Girl and maplelea, or maplelea. Again, I don't know. I've always said maplelea, but I've heard people say maplelea. So I should have researched that before starting this video, but here we are. I've been collecting for around 2 years as an adult. I started in May of 2020. Well, I started looking in December of 2019 for more American Girls, and I bought some to resell them. Never ended up reselling them. But then I bought my first doll as an adult intentionally, was Cecile, and I bought that in May of 2022. May of 2020. So that's kind of just a little bit of background of me and my doll collection. And now I have a YouTube channel where I talk about my dolls, so I post at least once a week. So if you like doll collecting videos, make sure to hit subscribe. So I wrote this list a while ago, but I still agree with everything I said, so I'm just gonna read off what I wrote. Anyways, number 1, set a budget. It can be, if you love something, it can be very easy to spend a lot of money on it. But I highly recommend setting a monthly budget for your doll collection and saying that you're gonna spend no more than that amount. For me, it's $50. Sometimes I go over it. I'm trying to get better. But theoretically, if I've saved that money, I can buy a new American Girl every 2 to 3 months. But that doesn't work out because there's always a sale on Rainbow High and that sort of thing. So it's more of a situation of do as I say, not do as I do, because I'm kind of bad at this. But it's better to have some budget and even go over it sometimes than have no budget at all and spend way, way, way too much money, because it can be very easy to spend a lot of money on doll stuff. And also in my budget, I have 2 sections of a doll budget. So one's kind of like small impulsive things, so like they're called fun finds in the American Girl community, which are things like at the dollar store, if you see like little tiny cups or little tiny soccer balls or little tiny like things that would be perfect for American Girl and they're only like $2, that's a separate line in my budget than buying a doll like a Rainbow High doll or a maplelea or an American Girl. So make sure that's just the way I do it. So I have a different budget for fun finds and actual dolls. Next is plan your collection. So make sure before you start collecting, or even if you've already decided to start collecting and you've already bought some dolls, make a decision about what brands you want to collect and what are kind of your limiters. I'm taking the term limiters. I learned it from my mom because she's a minimalist. So a limiter, for example, can be like, I only buy dolls that I could fit on this shelf, and I'm not buying another shelf. I'm not putting them in a different space. They're only going on this shelf. That's just an example. I don't personally have that, but if you have maybe a small space, that might be something you could do. Or you could say, I only collect American Girl. I only collect Rainbow High. I only collect Bratz. I only collect Barbie. Or you have a goal for your collection. For me, a goal in my collection is I've always said that I want to have all the American Girl historical characters. So that means that I do not go out and purposely buy American Girl Just Like You characters or American Girl Years or Bitty Baby or Willy Wishers or any of these other dolls. I only focus on the historicals. Now that's going to remove a lot of temptation for when you see a cute doll, because if she's not in the historical, I don't get her. That's a very good way to kind of make sure that you're a little more intentional with your collection, so you don't just end up wasting a bunch of money and at the end of it feel like you've gotten nowhere. And you really need to decide what's important to you and not other people. And I'm going to be talking about this a little bit later, but if it's really important for you to have every rainbow high doll ever, focus on that instead of having a wide variety or having the most valuable dolls in all doll brands. Just focus on what your values are. The third tip is ask yourself how much space you have or how much space you're willing to dedicate to your dolls. Now, this is different for everybody because some people live in apartments, some people have houses, some people have kids, and they also need to have space for those kids. Everyone is different. So it's important to decide how much space you're willing to give to your dolls. Is it just a shelf? Is it a room? Ask yourself those questions honestly before you start collecting, because you don't want to end up with a bunch of dolls that you can't end up displaying or using because you physically don't have enough space. And then you have to sell the dolls or you have to put them in storage, and it's kind of a waste of money because if you can't use them, then what's the point of buying them? Number 4 is decide whether or not you're going to tell people about your collection. This isn't a big deal to me because I'm an adult, I'm 22 years old, and I've kind of just come to the realization I don't care what people think of me anymore. I used to really care when I was in high school about what people thought, but just several things have happened in my life, also living through a pandemic and realizing that life is short. I've personally gotten over a lot of my feelings of needing to impress other people or needing validation from other people, and that's just me personally. But I understand everyone is on a different journey, so it's important to decide whether or not you want to tell people, and there's no right or wrong answer. On the one hand, telling people about something can cause, like, this might sound so weird, but that might send you like negative energy. So let's say you tell someone about your doll collection, they could say something negative, they could bring down your vibrations. And I know this sounds so cheesy, but if you're in a good mood, they could bring you down because they say something negative or mean. And so maybe it's not good to tell people that you know are going to be negative or you think is going to be negative, because you want to keep your energy high and you want to feel good every day. So you need to consider that, is that sometimes people can say something negative and that can bring down your energy and make you feel really upset and sad, which is not necessary. Or the other hand is that hiding things is unhealthy, and there's like many psychological reasons why hiding things or pretending to be someone you're not can be very, very harmful. So I recommend maybe not telling everybody, but and you don't have to make it a big grand announcement, like sit someone down and be like, I collect dolls. You can just mention it casually in conversation. That way it doesn't, if you don't make it a big deal, it's not going to be a big deal. So by being dramatic and sitting people down and saying, I collect dolls, sometimes can make it worse than if you just casually mention it. I mean, every situation is different, but I find from my experience, if you make something a big deal, it's gonna be a big deal. Number 5 is you need to decide your values as a doll collector and what will give you the most for your money. Do you want just the doll or do you want the entire collection? For example, with American Girl, you can get all the historicals, but maybe there's one historical that you like the most, so you collect her collection, or you just have Samantha. There's plenty of American Girl collectors out there who have a single character from American Girl that they like and they only collect for that character. Samantha's a pretty popular one, but I've seen people collect only for Kirsten or Molly, or when they get dolls, it's related to Kirsten, so they make like custom dolls that are related to Kirsten stories or Samantha stories, and that's okay, and that's totally fine. And everyone, I mean, it's a free country. You can buy whatever dolls you want. So you have to make those decisions for yourself. Are you going to collect one doll and collect all of her collection, or are you going to collect several dolls, or are you going to collect both Rainbow High and Monster High, or American Girl, or you're gonna focus on one doll brand. You need to make those decisions for yourself. And again, don't let yourself be influenced by other people. You can just collect one doll brand and you're still a doll collector. Don't feel this need to collect all these different brands. For me, example, American Girl and 18-inch dolls will always be my favorite. But I've had different phases in my life where I did collect Ever After High, when Ever After High was still a thing. Back in like 2013 was when I started collecting that, but it only lasted for like 2 years. So I do have some of the dolls from the thrift store, and I did buy most of them when they came out. So that's like a phase in my life. And I still love them. I still have them displayed in this doll house here. But that's just a different phase. And you're allowed to have different phases as well. Just make sure that you don't spend a lot of money if that phase is only going to be like 3 months. Number 6 is look into the secondhand market. One is that you can find dolls that no longer exist, like they don't make anymore. For example, a lot of American Girl Pleasant Company things you could only buy on eBay or Mercari or all these other sites. eBay is the only big one in Canada. I mean, there's also Facebook Marketplace and Kijiji. So you might only be able to find those things on the secondhand market. Also on the secondhand market, you can find things for sometimes a lot cheaper. So you can save a lot of money that way. If you just want an American Girl, you can easily find an American Girl for $30 on eBay if you live in the States. 50 you could find a whole bunch for. If you don't care about their clothes, you can still get them in good condition, like the hair is not cut or anything, but they might be wearing an off-brand outfit or no outfit at all. So you can save a lot of money if you buy off the secondhand market. And I have an entire video on my channel, doll collecting eBay tips, something along those lines. I'll leave it in the description, but that gives all of my tips for shopping on eBay, which is the main one that I use. I can find the most deals, and like I have all these eBay tips that I've been able to find really, really good things on eBay, even living in Canada, which makes it a little bit more difficult because shipping and import fees make it a little bit more difficult, and also a little bit more limited selection because some people don't ship to Canada. So I've been able to find really, really good deals on the secondhand market, and some dolls I wouldn't have been able to get without buying off of eBay because either they don't ship to Canada from the American Girl website, or they don't exist anymore. Like Felicity and Elizabeth, Nellie, Cecile, all these American Girls didn't exist. But you can easily find Barbie, even Rainbow High, Ever After High, Monster High. You can all find these on eBay. And of course, eBay is the main one for me, but Poshmark and Mercari, all those sites, if you're comfortable using them, go ahead and use them. Number 7 is to think about your collection in the future. So think about, even in 2 years' time, what you want your collection to look like, and also realize how expensive it would be to get that collection. I think I calculated to get all the American Girl historicals, it would cost me $2,000, like if I was just gonna buy it all at once, brand new. So that might make you not want to spend that much money on a collection. It might not be worth it to you. I just calculated the other day that my Rainbow High collection, I spent $500 on it over 2 years. Would I do that again? I don't know, maybe not, but I did get most of them for really good deals, so it's probably less than that. And same thing with American Girl. I plan to spend $100 on a doll. Most of the time it is lower than that because on eBay I can find them for $80, including shipping and all that. So make a decision for yourself. Is it worth that much money? Yes, it's $30 each doll, or yes, it's this amount each doll, but are you willing to spend that over time? Or is it a number that like, oh, I can buy a car with that, I'd rather have a car? Make those kind of decisions. And again, I can't give you a solid concrete number because everyone's financial situation is different. We all have different jobs, we all have different incomes, we all have different situations and things we need to pay for. So even if I'm giving you these numbers, don't feel bad that you can't afford that or it's too little for you. Everyone's different and we're all different ages and there's so many different variables, so there's no good or bad amount that you could spend on your doll collection. Heck, you could be a lottery winner and you know, spend all your money on dolls. That's fine too. Just think about how much you're spending on your collection. Is it worth that much to you? Not necessarily retail value. Don't think about resale value ever. It's just a waste of time because markets go up and down and things can completely crash. You can think, oh, this is really valuable, and it's really not. Like the Barbie holiday collector dolls, people think they're super valuable. No, you could probably sell it for like maybe $30, but more likely 10. Number 8 is do your research and don't let yourself get scammed. I'm very careful. I haven't bought anything off of Facebook Marketplace to get it shipped because I don't know if there's any, like with eBay, if somebody doesn't send you something, you can get your money back. You can't, I don't know if you can do that with Facebook Marketplace or like those Facebook posts in those buy sell groups. Now there is some consequences. If somebody doesn't send you something, you can like expose them to the group. So like socially there is consequences for that, but if they're a scammer, they're not going to care. So just, you know, pay attention and do your research. Make sure you don't get scammed. Understand the return policies, understand all that kind of stuff before buying from a website. Number 9 is make sure to research how to take care of your dolls. Now, there's many different levels to care in dolls, and you kind of need to decide how much care you want to take with your collection. But there is some basics, like with American Girl, there's very specific ways that you take care of American Girl hair and also like the different types of American Girl hair. Like you don't want to use a plastic brush, you want to use a wire metal brush. But you should also do some research, like don't put your dolls in direct sunlight, don't have them in front of a window. That can damage their eyes and change the color of their skin. With American Girls, I've heard of them even melting in hot cars. So don't leave your American Girl in a car. Like melting is kind of dramatic, but I don't know. They melt sort of like, they're not like a candle, but like they're damaged. Also make sure that for American Girl, I say that you can use magic eraser, but some people say, oh, don't use magic eraser because then the paint will come off. Their face paint will come off. I've never had that happen before, but you need to make a decision about what kind of risk you want to take. And like if you're cleaning rainbow high dolls, maybe you don't want to clean it because the sparkles will be removed or things like that. So do some research on hair care, like skin care, I guess, and like putting them in direct sunlight. Some people get plastic bags that they just put over the dolls. They're not like Ziploc bags. They're like specific for dolls, but you can put them over so they don't get dusty, learn how to dust your collection, all that stuff. Again, it's up to you what you want to say is important or not. But I guess the main things is hair and how to clean them and not putting them in direct sunlight is my advice. But I've also had people say, don't put your dolls in the basement. And both at my old house and my new house, the only spot I have for my dolls is in my basement. And so far, things have been pretty good. So that's something that you need to determine is if that's something you want to do or not. Number 10, which is my most important tip, is do not let yourself be influenced by others. Now, there's several things that I mean by this. One is like subconscious influencing. For example, you can see all these people buying this new brand, like, I don't know, like the new Monster High dolls, for example, and get so excited and you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna buy a rainbow or a Monster High. I love Monster High. And you buy it and you get all of them. And then 2 months later, you're kind of like, meh. It's because you kind of let yourself get into the hype of buying all these dolls. So that's kind of like subconscious influencing by other people or feeling like you have to have these big collections. I would have to say I have a pretty big collection, but I have around 100 dolls. But some people would say that that's a small collection and they have huge rooms and they have huge amounts of dolls and they have thousands and thousands upon dolls, or thousands and this is a lot. It's just a lot of dolls. So you need to kind of make those decisions for yourself and not get influenced. And especially don't feel like you have to buy all these dolls right away. It can take time. It can take years. It can take decades. It's up to you. But don't let yourself be influenced and feel like you have to have these big, massive collections or you have to collect a certain brand, even subconsciously. Then there's conscious things that people will tell you you should do. And I would have to say 95% of the time, you don't have to listen to them. Don't listen to them. And that's things like, don't buy this doll, she's too expensive. Don't buy this doll, she doesn't have any resale value. Don't get this doll because blah, 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 blah. I've seen that so many times in Facebook groups when people say, is this a good deal? That's like my biggest pet peeve. Don't ever go into a Facebook group and say, is this a good deal? Because I've talked about this in my eBay tips video. People can inflate the price and say, oh, that's an amazing deal when it's really not because they want to sell their doll for that price. Or they could say, yeah, that's not a good deal because to them, that specific doll is not important to them and they would buy a doll without an arm if it was a good enough deal. So you need to determine what is important for you. And don't let other people tell you otherwise. You need to determine for yourself if something is a good deal or not. So that is it for my tips for doll collectors or things I wish I'd known before I started doll collecting. If you have any additional tips, make sure to leave it in the comment section below. If you have any questions, make sure to leave it in the comment section below and I'm sure people will answer it for you and I will hopefully answer it for you. Also make sure to check out my eBay tips video. I'll have that in the description and in the top comment and on my channel. So if you want to watch that video, you totally can because it has a lot of useful advice in that as well. And make sure to hit the subscribe button down below for more doll collecting videos. And I will see you all next time with another video.